morning, traders. I'm Emily Ivani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Friday, December 20th. Mixed doesn't seem so bad. Yesterday, after a deep decline on Wednesday, markets made up a little ground. The Dow was able to snap its losing streak and pick up 15 points or 0.04%. The S&P 500 as NASDAQ closed lower. The S&P 500 gave up just 5 points or 0.09%. The NASDAQ lost 19 points or 0.1%. Bill, let's get into Friday's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Hi, good morning, Emily. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of negativity in the market today. The S&Ps are down 0.82%. They were down more than a full percentage point. So we are definitely seeing some weakness this morning. There's a couple of catalysts that are causing this. Number one, the Trump-backed bill failed to pass. And the government is facing a shutdown this evening at like midnight. I foresee that happening. I don't see they can get together and put something together on the table that can alleviate a shutdown from happening this evening. But the two bills, the bill that Mike Johnson originally had and the Trump bill, they are pretty much the same amount of dollars being spent. There wasn't much difference between those two bills. So, but the bigger narrative here is that the Trump demand for something to happen did not occur. And now, that's got to let you be a little cautious because he might not get that rubber stamp of the Republicans in Congress that he thinks he's going to get. And that would cause him to be, that would cause, a lot of question marks on his ability to pass legislation that he wants to do in order to move the economy forward. So that loss on that bill, that's kind of a big deal. Markets are also cautious about, the inflation report. It's expected to edge a little higher. Trump then also he issued a tariff threat against the EU if they don't purchase more oil and gas from the U.S. Not great. We are seeing shares of FedEx, Federal Express. They're trading higher after earnings and a possible spinoff. Nike lower after earnings. They're weak forward guidance, just not attractive. The FDA removed Lilly's weight loss drug from its drug shortage list. That's a positive factor. But let's take a look at what's happening overseas real quick, and let's take a look at Europe because Europe is falling hard. We got the DAX down 1.33% or 266 points. We got the FTSE down 65 points or 0.8%. The CAC is down 75%, which is a little over 1%. Now, Novo Nordisk, ticker NVO, stock's down 20%. They have an obesity drug. They came out with some new trial results on the drug, and they weren't all that positive. They were positive, but they didn't meet expectations, and that is hurting the market as well as the threats of tariffs on Europe if they don't buy more oil and gas. That's another negative factor that's happening in Europe. And retail sales in London, they rose by a weaker than expected figure. They rose 0.2%, and that was weaker than what was expected for November. So you got a couple of catalysts here that are really causing some weakness in the European markets. And we're taking a look at the Asia markets real quick. Asia also saw red because the Nikkei was down 0.29%, 111 points. The Hang Seng in Hong Kong was down 31 points or 0.16%. The Shanghai in China fell 0.06%. The key news out there out of China was that the People's Bank of China maintained its benchmark lending rates. That was kind of expected, but they do need to do some stimulus. I just didn't think they're going to be doing stimulus before the end of the year. I just don't see that happening. In Japan, they had that headline inflation rate that rose to a 3-month high of 2.9% in November. Okay, but Asian markets weren't. They didn't get crushed. I mean, they were down slightly. And now we're taking a look at oil this morning because oil is always a factor, and we're looking at oil down 0.5%. Almost. WTI is at $69.07 a barrel, whereas Brent's at $72.57 a barrel. What can I say about oil? Ceasefire talks in the Middle East. Russia appears willing to end its hostilities against Ukraine, but if that happens, they're going to want those sanctions to be lifted, and that would put downward pressure on oil. The no rate cut out of China, that didn't help oil prices. So I mean, we are seeing them weaken, and there's questions on forward demand. But oil trading under $70 a barrel for WTI. I like it at the gas pump. I will say that. But that's what I have for you in terms of a morning market update, Emily.
Bill, agreed. I do like that price at the gas pump. But as we heard in that opening, you started off by saying multiple catalysts moving the markets today, some negativity and caution in the air. We're on a Friday ahead of what will be a holiday week next week. But as others are slowing down, you are not still gathering the news because the markets aren't slowing down right now. And we're looking at things, as you heard, political news, international news, you're looking at corporate news and the economic front. So we're going to get to a lot of the details throughout the show. Even though earnings action isn't necessarily busy, there are some big earnings that came out that are worth noting. So let's start there, Bill. What is going on in terms of earnings action?
Yeah, I just want to say, because it's like we're moving in front of a holiday week, volatility can increase. You can see wider price swings on days like today when when a lot of people are off the desks. So a big move in the S&P isn't going to scare me today. I will tell you that. But in terms of earnings, we got to talk about FedEx, ticker FDX. They missed by a penny. It was done on lower revenue. But the estimates were rather wide. I mean, if I look at some estimates, they did beat. I look at other estimates that show that they missed by a penny. But it was a positive report, and plus they're doing a spinoff. So yeah, you look at FDX this morning, then that stock is trading higher by more than 8%. So FDX, nice winner. Nike, on the other hand, kind of the opposite. They beat by 15 cents, and they did that on higher revenue. But they lowered their guidance. And, you look at shares of Nike this morning, they're down 6.10% to $72.40. It actually bounced off of the earnings. I mean, it was trading like 81, 82, and then it just fell because, when they saw that guidance come out and how negative they are, I mean, they don't really have the sneaker sales that they did have in the 90s and 2000 with Michael Jordan's Air Jordans, selling like hotcakes. Remember, people were lining up, in the stores to get these things. You just don't see that anymore. So Nike, they're looking for a turnaround maybe in 2026. Yeah, that stock's stock's going to be making lower lows. Don't really like what happened with Nike. But that's really all. We don't have a lot of earnings coming out this afternoon. There's no earnings coming out next week. So that's all I have for you on earnings action, Emily.
Even though not a lot of action, some interesting action there. And you did mention FedEx. That was your pick of the day yesterday. You may have given it away, but stick with us through the end of the show to hear that recap. Now we turn to economic events. We're still sort of in this post FOMC hangover, if you want to call it that, as investors continue to digest not just what the Fed is going to do next, but what the next administration, what is happening with inflation, what is the overall health of the economy. And as I've mentioned before, it makes it more important day in and day out to keep watching this economic data, especially as new inflation numbers are coming out. So, Bill, what is going on in terms of the day's economic events?
You're right on the money. It's what the Fed is going to do. It's what the incoming administration is going to do, and what the data says. These are the things that the markets are paying attention to. This morning, we get the PC, personal income and outlays. That comes out at 8:30 a.m. 10 a.m., you get the University of Michigan consumer sentiment. Not a big fan of this report. And then at 1 p.m., you get the Baker Hughes rig count. I mean, that core inflation is really going to be key. It looks like it's going to increase. It looks like we're going to see an increase to 2.9% from 2.8%. That's going to be, that could be a little bit of a negative catalyst for these markets to feed off of. So I'm a little cautious on the markets today. But in terms of economics or PCE, that's the big one. That's the one that the market's going to be paying attention to today at 8:30 a.m. Emily.
And Bill, you're going to be watching that data as it comes out, using your NewsWare, making sure to grab that data as it hits the tape so you're not trailing behind the markets. You're not reactionary, you're proactive. And speaking of being proactive, you're following all sorts of news. So as we mentioned, as other people are stepping away from their desks, you're still in front of yours, still watching the market to take advantage of some possible volatility, looking at merger news, guidance news, buyback news, other catalysts. You also look at your stocks grouped together like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks to keep track of trends on the trading day. So Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving the markets today?
Doing a quick data check. I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I got 4 Dow stocks higher. No, actually, I got 5 now. I got 5 Dow stocks higher. The other 25 are lower. I'm looking at my FANG stocks. I'm seeing weakness across the board on all the stocks. You're looking at some of the news behind it, like Amazon comes out there. And, Amazon, first off, it's down 2.5% this morning. But the company says, hey, these striking workers, that's not going to affect our operations. Okay, we'll see. If I don't get my packages in time, I'll be upset. But I don't really have much of a choice. Then we're talking Google, which is down 1.74%. Google's releasing an AI model, Gemini 2.0, flash thinking. Tesla, we're looking at Tesla down 4.6% this morning. I've seen some notices about recalls on the tape on Tesla vehicles this morning. That's not good for Tesla. Then we're talking Dow Jones 30s, and we're talking Walmart, ticker WMT, down about 0.8%. They're expanding their voting power to the next generation of Walmart, of the Walmart family. 8 of the founders of Sam Walton's kids or his grandkids are going to get voting rights. They're going to have to switch that up to keep it in the family. So yeah, it doesn't really surprise me. But we'll see what happens with Walmart when they start getting new leadership. Then we're talking Amgen, ticker AMGN. Amgen's up 3.75% this morning. And one of the reasons why is because they're in that weight loss drug category. They got that weight loss pill. Remember we spoke about that the other day? Well, Novo Nordisk, they came out with their obesity pill, and they just had an FDA trial where it didn't meet all. They just had a trial where it didn't meet all of the endpoints that they were looking for, which is negative for the stock, but that's positive for Eli Lilly and Amgen. So yeah, there you go. Amgen trading higher. What else do we see here this morning? There was one other good one. NVIDIA, ticker NVDA. Department of Commerce is asking NVIDIA to look into how the company's products ended up in China over the past year. I don't think NVIDIA is going to be able to respond with any sort of certainty, but that's kind of, if you don't, we all would have our suspicions, but we'll see. Let's talk merger news. FedEx, they're going to be spinning off the freight trucking division, it looks like. Let's talk guidance. U.S. Steel, they see Q4 EPS coming in negative 25 cents to a negative 29 cents. Street estimate ahead is a positive 24 cents. Big negatives. U.S. Steel trading lower. FedEx, ticker FDX, they cut their full year 2025 EPS view to $19.20, but the street estimate was $19.75. So yeah, that's not horrible. Buybacks. Kroger, ticker KR, Kilo Richard, they announced a $5 billion accelerated buyback. Okay, this is part of that $7.5 billion share repurchase agreement that they announced about a week ago. All that really is 5 billion of the 7.5 billion share buyback is going to be an accelerated share buyback, which is positive. In terms of catalyst calls, Abercrombie and Fitch, that's ticker ANF, Apple Nancy Frank. I see JP Morgan opened up a positive catalyst watch on the stock this morning, Emily. And that's what I have for you in terms of news hitting the tape, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. We've now made it to that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Bill, it's a Friday ahead of a holiday week, and we've got some important inflation data coming out. There's some caution in the air. You're still looking for opportunity. So, Bill, what is your pick of the day today?
Going with Lilly, Eli Lilly, ticker LLY, Larry Yellow. That FDA news is a catalyst for them. I mean, you look at yesterday's call volume. It was flat, 19,283 to 19,712 on the put side. That's not significant. And open interest is positive, 184,771 to 164,831. Major brokers are raising price targets on the stock. They do like it. But the key really is the entry price. I got to get in under 800. I'm going to say 785. I'm hoping to get in 785, but definitely under 800. And I think that if I can get into that range, we could see that stock running strong today. The fact that the FDA took it off of the FDA took off, their weight loss drug off of the drug shortage list is good for Eli Lilly. Hims stock has fallen apart today because of this news. And then you got Novo Nordisk, having some weak results. I mean, yeah, Lilly has wind in its sail, so I like the stock. It's all about the entry price, 785 to 800. That's kind of what I'm looking for on today, Emily.
Bill, looking for Lilly at that entry price. We will follow that along with you today. And coming up before we sign off for the weekend, we will do that recap on yesterday's pick of the day. But ahead of that, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our hot off the press segment. Bill, take it away.
Okay, let's see what we got here. Berkshire Hathaway boosted stock in Occidental Petroleum, Sirius XM, and VeriSign. OXY was trading higher today, I saw earlier. Bitcoin falls 9%, now under 93,000. I like this one, JOBY. Joby Aviation successfully conducts first FAA testing under the TIA. So, that is positive. Canoe, ticker GOEV, they announced a 1-for-20 reverse stock split. LXRX, Larry X-Ray, Richard X-Ray, they got a PDUFA date today. Alibaba, BABA, the Ant Group, denies rumor of an IPO. Starbucks, union workers plan a strike in 3 cities ahead of the Christmas rush. This is a union that represents about 10,000 baristas in Los Angeles, Chicago, and Seattle for 5 days starting Friday. Tesla's aiming to post slight growth in 2024 on deliveries over last year's with the generous incentives on EVs, but a lot depends on the success of their new Cybertruck. Novo Nordisk has said its experimental next-generation obesity drug, Kagsima, helped patients cut their weight loss by 22.7% in a late-stage trial, but that's below the 25% that it expected. That's why the stock is getting hit, because it came in less. That's all I'm seeing this morning, Emily.
Okay, Bill, before we sign off, get to trading on this Friday and get into the weekend, let's do that recap on yesterday's pick of the day. I pointed it out was FedEx, which is moving pretty, saw a pretty big move. You did give us that look at their earnings. As you mentioned, by most accounts, they released earnings in line with expectations, maybe a little bit below, maybe a little bit above, but they did report a Q2 EPS of $4.05, and revenue for the quarter came in at $22 billion. You also did give us that note about that planned spinoff of the truckload freight division. And even though because of that, the company lowered their guidance, their moving forward outlook, shareholders and investors did see value in that, actually. So it seemed like everybody liked that news and the stock moved higher. We may have given it away here, Bill, but how did your call work out?
Worked out well. Look at the numbers. Stock opened up 274.52, fell to 273.18, closed 275.88. After the earnings announcement, the stock hit a high of $313. You look at the stock this morning, FDX is trading $295. It's still cheap. I mean, if the market wasn't so ugly today, it would be trading, $310. But this was priced for a $30 move. So this still has, it could move up another $10 from here. But right now the stock's trading up $19 or 6.93%. FedEx, FDX winner.
Another big win there, Bill. A number of big wins in a row. We will see if we can keep the streak going here with your pick of the day from today, Eli Lilly. We will check in with you on Monday about that pick. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here Monday and next week on the holiday week at NewsWare's Trade Doc when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead every day the market's open. Again, I'm your host, Emily Vani, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.